Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Smite Super Regionals. Today is an exciting day if you're a Smite fan. There's a lot of clinching scenarios. We'll get into that in just a moment, but first let's introduce who we are here on the desk. My name is Rainday. Thank you for having me. Of course, my two experts today, Anatoly and Cherryo. Welcome back, buddy. How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Yeah?
Looks like we got 10th place on lock, rather.
Basically what you were kind of assuming. You said you're going to go 0-5, so it seems like you're...
All right, we're going 0-5.
Okay.
You know, set the bar low so that way you can never be disappointed.
I love the confidence that Cherryo's displayed ever since he came on the desk yesterday. We've got some really good things coming up, though. Of course, if you want to go to the hi-rez Expo and the Smite World Championships, you can get yourself a ticket now. 25% off with the code REGIONALS. The key here is there are not a lot of tickets left. I think yesterday, Toy, they were saying less than a couple hundred.
The hype is real. Get your tickets now. If you want to get a chance to meet Evan, meet me, meet Cherryo as well. Maybe we'll have you later on as well. Whether or not your team makes
awesome.
Show that signature confidence of his and moving forward. And, of course, we've got something else that gives me a lot of confidence. When I'm playing in game, you know what makes me feel good?
Is it the Chibi Hades?
It might be the Chibi Hades skin. You know what I'm talking about. All of you. It's the Chibi Hades. You got to get it. It's the Smite Digital Loot Pack. Everyone is raving about it. I don't know why. Well, actually, I do. This skin is just one of the best we've ever put out. Heroine and Amaterasu. You get the Hero Apollo. You also get the 2017 Kepri Ward skin, Recall skin, Thunder Sticks, Global Emote, Divine Chest Roll, all of that for just 1,500 gems.
So Chibi Hades to me looks like one of those little kids where the grandma comes up and like one to pinch the cheeks because they just look so adorable and cute. You just can't resist.
You can't resist it. Cherryo, do you have the skin? Did I ask you this already?
Oh, yeah, I have the loot pack, but I haven't redeemed the skin yet.
Oh, dang, man. Well, you got to get onto that. And, of course, you get that great opportunity if you go ahead and get that Smite World Championship Digital Loot Pack. Now, there's another thing that a lot of you have been hearing about. It's really simple. It's called drops. That just means if you link your Twitch account and your hi-rez account, you're going to be able to get yourself a chance at free cutesy avatars. It'll be a cool chest roll that'll come through. All you got to do is link your accounts and then watch the Smite Super Regionals. Hi-rez TV, anything going on here, you will earn yourself continuous chances. And when you next get into the game, you might just find yourself with some cutesy chests.
Yesterday was a long day. Today might be a long day as well, especially if there are some tiebreaker scenarios. Now, for clinching scenarios so far, let's take a look at the standings first, though, before we go into the clinching scenarios.
That's right. We do have a couple of clinching scenarios. As he mentioned, just where we stand as of now, we've got Obey, Energy, Eager, and Soar. They have qualified for Worlds. That will be your 4 teams right now. The rest of the teams will be finding themselves in a bit of a precarious situation. As you mentioned, Toly, there are some clinching scenarios. Why don't you walk us through that for today?
So today's first game of the day will be Sanguine against Allegiance. Now, with Allegiance having 3 wins out of 3 matches, if they win 1 more, they will automatically qualify to Worlds, at least guaranteeing themselves top 2. Now, they don't guarantee themselves first seed, but the goal is to make Worlds originally. And now, if Luminosity, they win 2 out of their 3 games, they will also automatically qualify because the rest of the teams outside of Allegiance and Luminosity all have 2 losses, so they wouldn't be able to eliminate them out of the top 2. And also, if Luminosity win 1 game, that's going to eliminate Orbit GG's chances and Team Dignitas's, as Luminosity would have that head-to-head record.
Yeah, it's putting a lot of pressure onto, I think, Luminosity to perform. But a couple of the teams we didn't mention here, Sanguine, interestingly, going up against ALG today. They're one of the teams that hasn't lost to the 2 leaders in the board right now, ALG or Luminosity. So they have a difficult road ahead, but it's a possible road if they really perform today.
If they can manage to win 2 more of their games, they'll be put in a 3-win, 2-loss scenario where they would have to rely a little bit of a tie-break situation. The fate would not be in their hands, but they could still get to that position.
That's right. They could get it with a 3-2. Cherryo, of course, going into this game, there's been a lot of talk about both of these teams, Sanguine and ALG, both coming off of wins, actually. Are you surprised by Sanguine and their ability to bounce back yesterday?
I mean, I'm not really surprised about how we were playing and also our composition going into the game. Obviously, we made a lot of mistakes, but Sanguine played very well towards the mid-game.
What did you think about that game that you guys were against Sanguine? Because obviously they had the late game superior composition between the Ram and the Scylla, but you guys had more of an early game pressure between the Neith and the Thor.
Honestly, it didn't really matter if we got up 3 or 4K because our comp sort of fell off towards the mid-game, so our answer to like bypassing sort of their mid-game comp was either snowballing early to like a 5 to 6K gold lead or avoiding their team fight by looking for picks instead of grouping around Gold Fairy.
So moving into this next game with ALG, Drelo, you seem to have been on the worst end of that trade yesterday, and we're
okay.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You expected it.
Exactly.
And so moving forward, though, ALG, I saw them coming in today. They did not expect it. Weekend, him and his crew, they were here early. They were sitting in the chairs. They were ready as a unit. I saw Murrdurr over there, but I didn't see anybody else from Sanguine. Everyone on ALG seems ready, especially these two guys right here, Weekend and Cherryo. They're both ready to play.
Absolutely. These two junglers, they definitely bring a unique style to their team. We see Weekend playing anything that he really wants to. He even pulled out the Athena yesterday in the jungle, having PolarBearMike play the Arlong Shen and Odin onto CycloneSpin, which is a very strong asset for his team whenever your jungler can play anything they want.
Right. They definitely have a very similar playstyle in the sense that they play sort of a support role in the jungle rather than playing a carry role in the jungle similar to Anhur or like Komifi. They basically just play gods that set up their team for success. They on the side of ALG, Weekend looks for the gods like Athena, the gods like Erlang Shen, the gods that can set them up. And on the other side, you'll see Cherryo look for the Guardian jungles or the Najah jungles, the gods that can set up his team for success.
Against you guys, he even went the Athena jungle trying to set up his team, which worked so well for Dodo playing that late game Scylla. So I definitely am curious to see these two junglers battle it out because I think Athena will definitely be a very highly contested pick. I predict whoever's second pick is going to ban the Athena.
Well, what do you think also, talking about contested picks, both Dodo and MLC Stealth found rhythm on Scylla yesterday. Where do you think she's going to fall in this draft?
I don't think she's going to be first picked, but I think if whichever team is going to be second pick, they might elect to pick it in their first two.
Right, I definitely think it's going to be picked up later, but I think ALG's like a primary focus in terms of the mid lane. God pool is going to be Janus, and I don't really see any reason why it would not get through to ALG side, seeing how Sanguine doesn't really evaluate that highly.
Well, we here are going into the picks and ban phase for Sanguine and Team Allegiance. The first game of the day, Allegiance, they can qualify for Worlds with one win here. Sanguine trying to keep their hopes alive. Have not played and have not lost against the big dogs yet. That would be Allegiance and Luminosity at this point. And so they're hoping to keep their dreams alive by beating Allegiance for the first time in this group stage.
Now, we just saw Allegiance do something very smart. Yesterday, they saw Sanguine ban Terror from the first pick, so it's obvious that they are very uncomfortable playing that god. So what they did was they started like, they first banned the Najah instead of first banning the Terror just to see her field out and see if they can bait the Terror first ban. They did that successfully, so they get an extra second ban.
And this is going to allow Allegiance now to figure out where they really want to go. Now, they're very worried about the sustained composition, so they're going to take away Ra from the Dodo and instantly, no hesitation, going for that Athena.
I'm not surprised about this at all. We said earlier this is going to be a contested pick. ALG loves Athena. It's their bread and butter. And Sanguine take that away from them. They had success on it yesterday. I'm not surprised at all by this.
Taking away the bonuses for one team, turning it into a benefit and a boon for yours. Sanguine with the Athena, they have the option to pick up two now. Sobek and Anhur locked away for ALG, and there's the Scylla we mentioned.
And Anhur being locked in for Allegiance does one of two things, because Arkkyl is very aggressive with this Anhur, and that also allows Oceans also to get in a good position, because whenever he was against Team Dignitas, he was doing a good job baiting a lot of cooldowns on that Anhur.
And also, they picked up the Sobek there because although you think, why are they picking up the Sobek? It's a support character, same with the Athena. Well, the Athena can go in multiple rows, and so can the Sobek there.
Right.
And they're afraid of them taking the Sobek for support or solo. And the Poseidon hover, again, was just a meme, so that wasn't serious. But still, you know, they're picking basically the same 3v3 that they had success against us yesterday. And yeah, it's a very strong mid-game 3v3. A lot of it depends on Scylla basically just doing work.
And this Fafnir is great pickup this early on, because Arkkyl is known to play like almost any late-game hyper-carry hunter. Could play the Freya, could play the Rom. That coerce is definitely going to synergize really well. And now Nox being played by Allegiance. This is the first time so far in the Super Regionals, but MLC Stealth definitely has a lot of experience with this god.
Yeah, he played it a lot at the group stage, at Group B, was it? Yeah. And he found success against Egrofit, and he found success against some other teams with it. But my opinion of Nox is, as long as you're prepared for it and as long as you know how to play around it, it's a very weak god. It's more of a cheese god, sort of, for a lack of a better term. If you're not expecting it and you don't know how to play around it, it's going to have a lot of success against you.
As long as you have a really good front line for Allegiance here protecting MLC Stealth, he will be in a great position to get off his 1-2 combination. And even if Weekend picks up the Thor here, you could definitely wombo combo. And that's exactly why Sanguine take that option away. You definitely don't want to have that Thor dunk down on you with the Nox riding along.
That would not be a fun party that shows up at your door there. Seems like Rama, Guan Yu, they will be taken off the board for ALG. Just catching up with the ban. Sanguine, they take down the Thor. You've got another opportunity here looking for what they want to take off the board. Drelo, any thoughts?
Any thoughts? Anything that can really give them more initiation?
Okay.
Because
There's the gap.
the problem with Sobek Nox is Sobek's initiation is already very weak, so that's why they take it with the Thor. Because mid game it's very hard to like look for those blocks because usually people have beads or they play around it correctly.
So the Blink Geb will not be coming out. They take that away. Also the shielding there, not allowing that to go to ALG. So now it's their choice. You mentioned the Sobek not having a lot of initiation. Here's the Kuang. He almost needs no introduction. He's very strong. But in terms of the initiation factor, are they saving that for last pick, trying to counter what Sanguine are doing?
So the good thing about Kuang is you don't always have to use his ultimate for that execute. That could be the setup that Allegiance could utilize just to get an easier guaranteed combo off for MLC stealth. And that's what I kind of expect to happen because the two magical damage, it doesn't matter who is the target between Nox and Kuang. They have a lot of damage both. We don't normally see weaken on this Kuang, so I'm actually surprised that they're willing to bring it out here. It's such an important game.
Right. And I feel like Allegiance's comp is a bit weird, but they could possibly pick up a solo laner here that could help him get into team fights, something like an Amaterasu, or possibly even like, or they could also just pick up a support like Bacchus of Initiation to help him get into fights.
And if it is going to be the Sobek in the solo lane for CycloneSpin, it's going to be very interesting front line. They definitely need a tanky presence that could initiate and peel back. If the Bacchus does get locked in, then that means Sobek will go in the solo lane. Amaterasu, though, would provide a lot of mobility for Allegiance, and it would also give them that a second important physical damage god. So it is going to be the Vamana. Very easy opportunity to dive that backline.
That's what I was also going to mention, too. If they would have gone for more like a Bacchus, that would have put them with 4 magical, only 1 physical carry with the Anhur there. How important is that, Drelo? Is that something that, you know, a lot of people say that? Is that really matter here in terms of these types of games?
I mean, if you get ahead of it, it really doesn't matter because they can't really build defense without sacrificing power, but it doesn't really matter in the mid and late game.
Okay. So here are the teams. They are locked in. Kuang, Vamana, Nox, Anhur, and Sobek for Allegiance. Sanguine have followed up with Athena, Fafnir, Scylla, Ravana, and Huyi. Before we head to the casters, guys, let me know, who are your thoughts for winning this game?
I think late game goes to Sanguine here between the Scylla, Huyi, and the Coerce, amplifying the Huyi a little bit in the late game, whereas I think Allegiance definitely have the better pick-off potential in the mid game.
Right, I definitely think Sanguine definitely has the better, more complete comp, better team mid to late game comp. Allegiance comp kind of looks a bit awkward, kind of looks a bit weird, and I don't really see much synergy in their 3v3.
Well, will the synergy off the actual battleground take place and carry them over through with this little bit of a wonky comp? Casters, what do you think about it?
Well, for me personally, Rain, it's going to be a very interesting one. The hopes and dreams of Europe are all on Sanguine's shoulders today.
Of all teams,
this is the 8th seed.
It's come down to Sanguine. They're gonna need to find a win here. Possibly some more wins later on. Obviously, ALG is gonna be facing up against LG, but I mean, the North American boys getting a really strong edge in that first day.
A very good situation for Allegiance to be in now. This win will put them to the World Championships just because they're starting 3-0 right now. Every other team has lost 2 games, and going 4 games will be enough overall to get them through to the World Championships. And for a team that got formed just for the Gauntlet, just for Super Regionals, they've made things happen.
And you just heard the passion in PolarBearMike at the end of the game yesterday. Just he has worked so hard. I mean, this guy started playing Smite, you know, a little bit over 2 years ago. He went from picking up the game to playing with Zapman and Eager in 6 months. He came on during Yana's release, I believe it was, and now he's just 1 game away for guaranteeing his world spot.
Look at his year this year as well. I should say that into account. I mean, he was on Eager, then left Eager, or got removed from Eager, whichever way you want to put it, and then after that ended up on the bottom end of North America, the Randozo sort of teams, flopping around on different teams, trying to find a home, and eventually him and Oceans made a synergy going towards the end of the year.
And Oceans too. I mean, this is a true rookie. This is his first split in the SPL. Was the beginning of this year, and he has just proven he can compete with the best in the hardest pool of players, I think, across any region and you know, any role. The North American Hunters, they are so competitive. All of them played an incredibly high level, and Oceans has established himself in that group.
When you talk about Oceans at the moment, he's going to be against Arkkyl in the duo lane here of Sanguine, and Arkkyl's performance this tournament has been solid. Very, very good all around. I want to see him try and turn this up even more, and with this Ho-Yi pick, it looks like that's what he's looking to do.
I mean, it's Anhur versus Ho-Yi. I think this is going to be very similar to Orbit versus Allegiance yesterday when we saw it was the Ho-Yi actually picked up by Oceans, I believe, and the Anhur by Funballer. But, I mean, those guys just wanted to fight nonstop. I don't know. Arkyl's not really someone who's trying to initiate the 1v1s, but on Hou Yi, I don't think he's just going to let Oceans dominate the lane and push him under tower. I do expect to see some action there.
I will say Oceans is probably one of the most balanced hunters from my point of view. He can play the defensive role if you need him to, but he can also play the aggressive role in any given situation as well. Now, as we go into this game at the beginning, I'm very interested to see how the core of Allegiance works today, because you heard on the desk there, Cherryo was saying he's not sure about the synergy coming out from the actual core of this team with the support, mid, and jungle together. I, however, see a Sobek flip into a Nox silence, which could spell doomsday for a member of Sanguine.
I mean, they have a clear pick-off style, where a lot of it is going to be relying on PolarBearMike finding a pluck, but obviously Sobek always puts himself in a bad spot when he does that, so the timing that ALG are going to find there is going to be very important. The one thing is that Nox has a really easy time baiting out Purification because the combo is so high. It's not easy to hit consistently, but this is a god in Stealth Pool. He's really the only one who has repeatedly brought out Nox, so you do expect him to be hitting those combos and getting some Purification out, and that's just going to allow Mike to set up for the kill potential.
And the only time we've really seen Nox come out of Europe has been on the side of Dignitas.
Shadow Nightmare
has run it in the mid lane before. I don't know what Sanguine's experience against this is, but their core have to deal with it for the majority of this game. Dodo won't be able to get away from the silence route combination, and at the same time, the more important one for me is probably going to be the two Guardians. You've got the Athena on Cherryo, and you've got the Fafnir. Now, both of these want to go in and aggressive, but this silence, it is so strong against Guardians and Assassins.
It destroys it, especially this matchup against Fafnir. When Fafnir goes into Dragon form, obviously he has to go through the animations. That's a perfect time for Stealth to drop the two and then root him in place just as the ultimate comes through, and he's going to be always in a bad spot. I mean, you're right, it shreds through tanks, and I do expect Stealth to be going into some early penetration, probably an Obshard, within the first 3 items.
I just saw what skin Dodo was using today as well on that Scylla as well. It's very interesting to see him using the Cog Scylla skin that Stealth got himself, so Stealth playing Stealth in this game.
You gotta give him credit for that.
Is it credit though?
No, you want to beat the world, the SWC winner in his own skin.
That's true.
How BM is that?
Well, hold that thought, because that combo is going to put Arkkyl in an awkward spot. He leaps back in, but he goes straight into the damage because there's no other way to escape.
That was unfortunate coming out from ALG there. You could see both PolarBearMike and Oceans didn't put themselves in a position to have Arkkyl blocked up. He actually jumped directly onto Oceans, and PBM pushed him away. Then the Impale come through. They got a lot of damage, but that was a kill potential there.
The call was definitely for aggression from the boys of Allegiance there, as we tune into the solo lane for a second, but the call was definitely for aggression. Problem is they both used their engage abilities at the same time, so they couldn't chain the CC, which would have put Arkkyl in a more dangerous situation.
The one thing I'm worried about for ALG here is weekend on Kuang. Now, we've seen Allegiance, and we saw, their old roster. When they were winning games, it was weaken on Athena. It was weaken on, Erlong Shin, these tanky frontliners where his whole goal was to set up really for Oceans and for Stealth to shine. His Ao Kuang and his mechanical assassins that require you to always be in position, to always hit your buttons at the right time. Yeah, we know what Anhur can do with this god. We know what Homie FA, we know what Adapting can do with it, but we don't really see that same playstyle come out of Weekend.
And Sanguine as well, when you look at their composition, they've done the same thing as yesterday here. It's pretty much 3 frontliners and then 2 damage dealers in Arkkyl and Dodo. The problem I see is the Nox pick again. The Nox ultimate, if it's used ahead of time, reduces damage done by your opposition. When Scylla uses I'm a Monster, you hit it with Nox ultimate, and that's not going to do as much as you would hoping for.
No, not at all. I mean, the damage reduction is not really talked about or thought about too much, but it's massive, and you've got to be careful with your timing here. Cherryo and Dodo, though, getting a little bit of aggressive here at the spawn of these second buffs.
Yeah, they were around the speed and blue area just looking for a rotation, see if they can put some pressure on. The teleport was used by CycloneSpin there, and Nika hasn't used teleport on the Ravana. These 2 solo laners, though, let's be honest, this could be a very interesting battle between the 2, but Ravana, we know for his early game dominance at the moment, bit of a different story, as Cyclone already has a bit of a lead in that lane, but there's a full minion wave for Nika.
Weekend doesn't want to give up the speed buff. I'm a Monster, doesn't secure it. Cherryo is trying to ult out. He is CC immune, but it doesn't matter. CycloneSpin over the wall finds the kill. probably needed that too. I think Cherryo gets out without Cyclone's rotation.
It was a very interesting play for a speed buff of all things, just to get that speed, especially when your own side of the jungle is still available. Murrdurr's not even made a rotation over from the duo lane yet, which means that they give up first blood to Sanguine and they lose their own speed buff in trade for the one they just stole.
And also, Cherryo doesn't even get to pick up the speed buff. He's dead, so they're not even going to get any use out of it. Athena's not going to have fast rotations, and this has opened up the blue buff as well. This early game right now brought to you by CycloneSpin, winning this Vamana versus Robin matchup, forcing Nika under his tower, opening up the chance for him to rotate, win Sanguine, win aggressive onto that speed.
Why is Sanguine going aggressive when they don't have lane pressure in the right-hand side?
I don't know.
Cyclone ended up getting a kill, which puts Nika in a worse position now as well. He was already, you know, pinned in that lane, it seemed, and without lane pressure. That's what they should have been looking for, the left-hand side, where they had some pressure.
Well, they got the red here. I don't actually mind what Sanguine was going for. They thought, and you saw the combo happen. Hold that. MLC Stealth could be in trouble here. Cherryo.
I think they'll have to check.
He found him.
Taunt gets hit, and he's going to force the purification early on. No follow-up after the hammer hitting, though, but now those purification are on cooldown. Weekend's going to play a little bit more careful.
For the next couple minutes right now, because you still have to worry about that pretty easy combo of Athena taunt. Now you have nothing to immune it. You're going to have to ult if you're Weekend to just get the knock up on the Athena if he tries to close the gap on you. Not something he really wants to invest into or even run the risk of that happening.
The funny thing is, as well, I think Weekend's going to have to adjust his playstyle on the Kuang already. I think he just hit the standard illusion there back to the tower safety, but now he'll recognize that Cherryo will guess where he's going to go in the right sort of area, so he's going to have to think a little bit more about the illusion escapes.
Well, the illusion as well, I mean, not a lot of people even realize this, but it actually shows the direction that you blink to, and because it's such a short blink, if you can just if you pay attention to the illusion, don't look at the Kuang, look at where he.
You can't look at the Kuang, he's invisible.
Well, I'm saying a lot of people will immediately just turn their camera like, oh, where did he go? If you just hold that spot, look at the illusion, and then go based on where the character model is facing, you can quickly turn around and get that because the illusion is such a short dash.
Arkkyl wants a fight with Oceans! One of the better hunters in the scene has just been taken out by the European Frenchman.
And it's a solo. I mean, obviously the Athena ult reducing the damage on Arkkyl, but that played no factor into that fight. Maybe Ocean stays and tries to battle if the Athena ult is not there, but he had to try and escape in that situation. And Stealth gonna have his purification and half his life burned away.
Hammer, if that would have connected from Murrdurr there, Stealth could have been a lot more of a trickier situation, but his purification is down as is weakened. This is a power play for Sanguine now. Left-hand side, Arkkyl can just get a bit more free farm over there uncontested, but they're looking at the speed buff again on the right here, Sanguine.
They need to be careful. This didn't work out for them last time. They're doing a much better job, though. They're looking for the kill. Purification should still be down on Weekend. You can see Cyclone has rotated over as well, expecting this invade. Nika's right behind, and Sanguine are going to force this.
Yeah, well, we're going to miss, but Cherryo going to get plucked into danger. The silence comes into play, but the taunt on Stealth is good. Stealth going to have to dash back to tower. Meanwhile, lurking in the waters from PolarBearMike, trying to zone them away, and the big baby is now here.
Cherryo trying to get away, still alive for now. I'm a monster, not going to do anything as Weekend already executed Cherryo, and now it's just 1v4. I mean,
Cyclone gets a kill as well. The combo coming out from Dodo, they're not going to be able to kill Mike, who went for the reinforced shoes. And Sanguine telegraphed this again. They went for the speed buff a second time. They did have the purifications down, but
the main issue is that they took too long. I mean, they just stood there and they allowed Allegiance to find an opening in Sanguine's composition. Cherryo finally just a little bit too pushed up. Mike gets the pluck, and then the entire team collapses. And then, honestly, the rest of Sanguine just watched it happen. We saw TheDarkDodo not in a position to help him. We saw Nika not in a position to help, and they all kind of just let Cherryo get beat on for 10 seconds before they tried to go in.
I'm just not so sure about Nika and Ravana as well. I mean, he's got to pick a CycloneSpin. You expect Cyclone, but Cyclone's quite happy to play Vamana every single day of the week if he gets it. And he went for Ravana, a bit more of a lane bully, but he's not really made anything happen with this so far in the early stages. Most people who play Vamana know how to deal with a Ravana these days.
And at this point, he can't really do much about it. He lost that early lane pressure, which is unfortunate. Sometimes things happen, but then Sanguine tried to force the speed buff. Cyclone rotates, gets that kill, and now Nika has really little to no hope of gaining control in this lane without Cherryo setting up a gank.
Well, Weekend's not really looking for a kill here. He's not got much mana. He's just here for the farm for the most part and show a bit of pressure in response to Cherryo hanging around as well. The boon for Sanguine right now is definitely Arkkyl getting that solo kill in the Hunter role, because they could look to him as the game goes on. Obviously, Yi fantastic in the late stages of the game, at all stages for the most part.
Now the question is, are we going to see an adjustment of playstyle for Motions? Because he likes to 1v1. He likes to fight. We saw that yesterday. We clearly saw it there because he was, I'm assuming, trying to battle Arkkyl when he did get soloed. But now that he's a level down, he's going to have to switch it up. He only has attack speed boots as well, which aren't very efficient in the early game. You really want that warrior tabby, the 40 power spike. Once he gets a couple items online, his DPS will be increased. But at this point, he's not in a position to box a Hou-Yi.
Well, Weekend's on the left-hand side right now, looking towards that Hou-Yi. Obviously,
Arkkyl
Kuang doesn't have the greatest matchup against an Kuang. Sorry, Hou-Yi has a better matchup against an Kuang just because of the Mark of the Crow. It can see through the illusion.
And probably one of the main reasons, I mean, this is
maybe.
Probably one of the big factors in the team fights later on is whether Arkkyl tries to set up the Mark of a Crow on a different target and go for a stun and try and follow up off that, or if he's just going to hold it the whole time and throw it on weekend only. And I would like to see that. I mean, sure, you could set up a stun on someone else, but if you can just have full vision of an Kuang in a fight the whole time, that gives your team so much. It's just so much of an easier time because you always have to worry about any stealth characters like a Loki or Kuang. You're like, man, where is he at? He went invisible. Where the hell is he at? We don't have the wards right now. What are we going to do? But if you have that vision, that's huge.
And the funny thing about Arkkyl yesterday, he said to me, how good is Oceans, by the way? Like, he didn't know, and I'm like, actually, trust me, the kid's good. Just be careful around him.
And then he solos him.
And then he solos. He's like, he wanted to prove a point to me, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Again, Hindu, I'm going to beat him up. Now, in a bit of a dominant position for himself, but his team as a whole is much better off right now. Allegiance are up about 1,000 gold, give or take about 800 actually between the two right now, but 1,500 experience, and this is actually all come down to the fact that it was Sanguine going aggressive.
And they've kind of calmed down now. I don't expect them to go aggressive. I mean, they went for 2 invades. They both went poorly.
Yeah.
To expect Sanguine to go for a 3rd invade is incredibly unlikely unless they're able to get a pick off from it before. And I'd like to see Sanguine now try and focus on that, utilize that Athena ult to set up a gank on the other side, or even rotate the Athena to the right, just to beta rotation from ALG and then ult over, force that Gold Fury with the Fafnir who has Wrath.
I can understand the overall idea of Sanguine though. Yes, they try and put pressure onto the speed buff. They're looking to try and get ahead early game if they can, and if it doesn't go well, what they'll do is they'll sit back and go for the late game. They have the Hou-Yi and the Scylla, look to farm it out and get to that later stage. They went for the early aggression, didn't work out, but however, talking about early, Allegiance at 10 minutes looking towards the Gold Fury.
They do not have a Wrath, and Fafnir has his online, so this is clearly a bait for a fight. You can see a stun, and the stuns are wasted.
And there's a crush damage coming down, but it only hit on one target, CycloneSpin, and CycloneSpin weathering most of the storm of that fight, goes into the big baby, and the boys of Sanguine are pushed back right now. Arkkyl, the first to die, his front line left him alone, and Dodo was 1 hit from death too. Sanguine Esports are going to lose the Gold Fury here.
They just took the bait, and there's the meditation as well. Murrdurr's still alive with Wrath, trying to close the gap, but Weekend already on zone duty. It was actually a double teleport. Murrdurr
However, they
flung up.
all in, and they're still trying to commit here, but Murrdurr's already dead. Nika's not got a whole lot of damage right now. He's just got that breastplate to try and hold on. A good leap in, gonna overhead kick away from Nika to allow him to buy time still, but he stops the Gold Fury.
And this is big. It's just going to be a stolen red buff more than likely. Stealth still going aggressive, cutting off Nika's escape path straight into the Impale, and Nox finds the kill.
Stealth did the zone working out. Cherryo has to get out too, away from CycloneSpin with Oceans in support as well. They won't get the Gold Fury, but there's a lot of pressure in mid lane as well for the boys of Allegiance.
And this was a great call overall from Allegiance. Instead of even bothering risking going for the Gold Fury, they just chase out an extra kill, steal a buff. You've already got a win. There's no point to just try and risk it at the Gold Fury when you have to compete against a Wrath. Instead, just take what Sanguine's going to give you. And Sanguine gave Allegiance those kills. I mean, they took the bait. They walked in. Stealth, I love what he did too. He just ulted at the beginning of the fight to get that damage reduction, making it impossible for Sanguine to fight in while that dot was still on them. They had to disengage, and they just got chased down. And another good job from Mike and from Oceans, just blocking off their escape paths. The pillars, the jumps, the plucks.
I do want to see the plucks, though, coming out from PolarBearMike this game, just be a little bit better timed. He seems to be just using it on cooldown. If you can see somebody in range, he's plucking them. Sometimes, though, those characters are actually in a worse position where they are right now, and that could be saved for them trying to escape afterwards.
Thankfully, though, he has an Anhur, which is obviously one of the better combos for a Sobek, because even if he plucks someone into a bad spot, as long as they're relatively close to a wall, you can rely on Oceans to find the pin stun, or even just even the pillar stun.
Well, Arkkyl was trying to get a little bit more aggressive in that left-hand lane against Oceans again, but the rotations coming out from Allegiance are going to deny him that option for the time being. Again, Allegiance are quite happy with how the last fight went around the Gold Fury, so they're going to go back to it again.
No purification up for Weekend right now. He's not going to have it at all this fight. He has to be very careful with his positioning. And Murrdurr's rotating in, so this is not going to be given up for free.
A couple of relics extra online for both teams now as people start to approach level 12. CycloneSpin.
Nice stun.
Hit a lot of free poke there. Murrdurr did some good work with that hammer just to slow down his advance. And the big key here is CycloneSpin was doing great work on the front line, and Mike just missed that, but immediately goes into the ult, and Weekend goes to the back line.
Oh, and he got rooted in place, taking Sun's damage, has to get
monster.
out.
Looking
TheDarkDodo.
towards PolarBearMike, it will hit, but the meditate from Cyclone helps him out. To the back line goes Nika though, and he will take out Weekend. Next on the list, the boys of Sanguine pushing forward, but the big baby's beating down a dragon right now.
Oh my, they're all grouping up for Nox taking so much damage. Cyclone's taking out one. Oceans answers back. Finally, Cherryo gets on the board, and Arkkyl is just going hard in the back line. Stealth trying to get away, drops the silence, quickly purified away. He is going to dash to safety, but Arkkyl still wants this.
He's got Ricochet up there, but now he's going to have to turn his attention to CycloneSpin as well. I don't think Stealth's going to be in this fight anymore. Dodo just hanging at the back, trying to bait Cyclone in a little bit more. Wants to help out, but he's got to be careful about positioning. And in the end, Cherryo will pick up CycloneSpin, but Arkkyl falls in trade.
Only 2 players remain alive. 3, excuse me. Stealth lives for Allegiance, and it's Dodo and Cherryo for Sanguine. Probably Sanguine. They were already down by about 3K. They weren't in the best spot, but a lot of that came down to Weekend going aggressive. He actually blinked in to Sanguine by himself, and I mentioned at the beginning of the fight, he didn't have purification up. Again, I don't like Weekend on these Kuangs, on these gods that one positional error and your fight's over, and it could turn the tide of the battle, and I think that's exactly what happened there.
Was this Weekend going in just overly aggressive, or was this trying to help him out PolarBearMike? Because PolarBearMike missed his pluck, was forced to lurk in the waters, and if it would have gone on cooldown that and he would have just saved that situation, it would have been Sanguine with a power play.
Well, the issue is that he went aggressive. He funneled himself into Sanguine. Mike's ultimate was used much earlier. Mike was fine in the end. It was a call to engage for Allegiance, but Weekend just can't be the guy in the front line. He can't be ahead of PolarBearMike chasing Sanguine into a tight funnel, especially against a Scylla, and that's what happened. He actually got rooted in place by Dodo, then got hit with Crush. He had to actually he water illusioned away in the end, but then just Arkkyl finds him in the back line.
Now the gold lead is still the same as what it was quite a while ago there. You saw the team fight graph at the bottom between the two, but look at those graphs. It's still about 600-700 gold lead. The experience, though, is actually come back in favor of Sanguine after that last little trade-off that happened at the Gold Fury.
I mean, this is basically an even game at this point. 600 gold at 15 minutes is absolutely nothing. The level difference right now, it's 1 level for Athena, and that's it. And then CycloneSpin has 2 levels.
For me, it makes it kind of even between Athena and the Kuang anyway, just because at the end game, Guardians are just going to be their frontline tanks, whereas Weekend will explode on the Kuang.
Weekend also went Doom Orb. I didn't notice that at first. So going a little bit riskier too on the Kuang. Obviously, it's super cheap, efficient item, but a lot of players prefer going for the Dynasty Plate Helm. You know,
a little bit difficult to get those stacks as well, I guess, on the Kuang in the jungle too, because you're going to have to take farm from the mid lane. The mid lane is stacking too, but there's purification burned by Weekend. Weekend going aggressive instead of backing up away from it. PolarBearMike on his way in as well.
That's the strength of Athena, though. You just dash in, you taunt too, and they burn their purification, and you don't lose anything for it. I mean, yeah, a little bit of damage back from Weekend, but he actually took more in response.
I'm really looking at Arkkyl this game though for Sanguine. If your hopes and dreams and you're a European right now, you're looking at this Frenchman because he's had a great tournament.
I mean, he's shown up, and this guy, he's been a little bit inconsistent. We've seen great plays from him. We've seen him kind of not be an impact into games, but I mean, this is one of, if not their most critical game in the group play.
Look at the roster of Sanguine here, right? And when you talk about the roster of Sanguine as well, let's go through it. Cherryo expects to hang on. We're going to see a man fight over in the left-hand side, but support from both teams is coming in. Athena crashes down. Arkkyl dips out straight away. Top from Cherryo hits 2, and Weekend's in trouble. Weekend is already dead on the rotation. Next on the list, the boys of Sanguine thinking about pushing forward a little bit more towards Oceans. And Oceans is rooted in place. The silence from Stealth will buy him time. Not long enough to stop Arkkyl from taking the life of Oceans
Murrdurr
again.
Just jumped over the impale of Oceans, found the stun, and the team followed up.
I think they want more.
I loved what ALG was doing at first.
Gonna help Sobek crippled in place, licking the waters into play. Silence only hits onto one target, which was Cherryo, but CycloneSpin has made a rotation. Cyclone wants Worlds, and he's here to support his team.
Murrdurr's ult has ended, but Nika's in tow as well. It's 3-on-4 right now. Sanguine in a power position. It's actually all 5. Arkyl's still here. ALG can't take this fight, but but I don't know if Sanguine really wants to risk going for the Gold Fury. They've got a couple members poked out here, and Sanguine, they're just going to take the couple kills. They've evened up the gold lead once again. I mean, it's only 400 separating them. Probably close the gap on that experience lead.
I'm going to be clear as well, the tier 1 tower, the right-hand side, went down in favor of Allegiance as well there. So that gold lead between the two, it's just that tier 1 tower. It's worth 500 gold to the team of Allegiance, and that's the difference between these two teams right now.
So, I mean, going back to the start of that fight, what happened was Oceans was actually baiting. He wanted the Athena to ult because you saw Weekend and PolarBearMike come out of the jungle the second the Athena ult started channeling. They thought they were going to have a 3-on-2, but they didn't expect Murrdurr to get there so fast. He jumps over the wall, pops his ultimate, finds a multi-man stun, and then the rest of Sanguine also quickly rotate.
Well, hold this thought. Allegiance have started the Gold Fury. Let's have a listen in to Allegiance's comms on the Steel Series. Listen in.
Get out. We're out. We're gone. Just in the towers. TP down. Good shit. Fucking idiots. Kids are garbage.
You need to tell me when I should TP.
Yes, sir. I gotcha. I'm backing. If I want to fight, I'm going to tell you to TP, so, because I can't go into fights like you're there. If the fights are worthless, if I go in by myself, or I go in before.
We'll win every fight where we don't get one shot.
Be careful, right?
So we just gotta play it slow.
Yeah.
What active do you guys want? What second active?
My actives are down to 30.
You want me to get a hug? Should I?
Do I have a shell?
Yeah, probably.
I have Chronos.
I could get
headlock.
headlock.
Heavenly,
So much less scary.
I'll get
I mean, I don't know.
Come over right. He wants to say
Do
it.
it.
We jump.
Come right.
I'm not pushing.
Teleporting in.
Leave it now.
Right here. No jump.
I'm on my way.
And they're Robin's middle. There's Taunt. There's Lee.
I'm like on my way. We push right.
Let me life steal.
Can we push this?
Yeah, we can.
Someone might need to push up.
I have all actives now. Let
They might push mid.
My blink is down, that's it.
No, they're looking for a fight.
I think we
They're
can.
looking for a fight. I
Yeah,
don't.
they are.
I don't really know if I
right.
want.
What are you saying, Cyclone?
I don't know if we should take.
Alright, then back out. Fuck it.
This is really weird.
Back out.
Alright.
Freeze. Simple. It's really not hard. Anyone has a job.
Athena dash.
Yeah. I have Heartward soon. Once I have Heartward, we are.
Try to call out your shit, by the way, Oceans, because that fucked me over. Really.
Well, I expected the Allegiance Gold Fury fight to be a little bit stronger than that, but Allegiance get it for free. Their comms are very clear here. And as you watch the fights through, this is really a tale of two characters in the game for me. It's Arkkyl, who's really trying to carry things for Sanguine.
It really feels that way.
However, CycloneSpin has made some of the hottest rotations in a long time I've seen him do. He is here ahead of time. You saw the gank pressure that he tried to put onto Arkkyl, then with the teleportation. They went straight for him, and Cyclone realizes that Arkkyl is the one hope for Sanguine.
This is the CycloneSpin of last year,
Yes.
when we saw him on Assassins out-rotate players when he doesn't have teleport. When the new lineup happened throughout this year, we saw him kind of develop into a pretty greedy player. His team would be fighting, he'd be stealing away speed buffs or red buffs or doing back harpies. He would be out-rotated by almost every other soul laner. He's always had the mechanical skill. He's always a great player, but he hadn't been working well with the team. He seems to have found that again.
Gonna miss from PolarBearMike, but the Rui is down and Dodo's exposed. The Weekend's in there like a man looking for food. Dodo forced to ult as well as Athena.
Weekend in an awkward spot, but he does manage to sneak behind Sanguine with that invisibility, and Dodo's ult has been forced out while CycloneSpin just bullies Nika on the right-hand side. This is going to be a tier 1 siege coming out from Allegiance. You can see the team grouped up. They know Athena ult's down. They know I'm a Monster's down.
And now the pressure from Oceans is here. The in-hands are going to be focused, but the block
Served
is
up.
good on Cherryo, but it is a frontline Guardian. On the backside of things, Arkkyl drops his ultimate to try and force him from going away, but Ocean still picks up the Egyptian for now. 1 kill, the way of Allegiance.
That's one of the scariest things about Sobek. Yeah, you can put someone out of position, but you always guarantee that you put yourself out of position too. PolarBearMike barely escaping there. Nice attempt from Nika to ultimate in front of him and body block him. He just couldn't get the angle. PolarBearMike walks out, and it's a 1-for-1 trade.
And now Nika's here too, to ultimate used by CycloneSpin here, but Arkkyl is still trying to make things happen.
Oh,
Ricochet,
okay.
Weekend did so much damage, but Ocean's clean up Murrdurr, and the tier 1 tower will fall down. Allegiance still come up good enough in that fight.
And they're quickly rotating to the right-hand side. That blue buff was stolen by CycloneSpin on the last spawn, I believe, so Weekend has the exact timer. He's going to strip that away. The speed buff will be coming soon. And if ALG can actually get some pressure in the mid line, they should open up that possibility, but instead, playing it safe. And I mean, going back to the comms, ALG are really trying to play this safe. They're really trying to make sure that this is a clean win,
they're
that they
listening to each
don't
other.
have any risks.
The best news is, as a team, they're listening to each other. One of them, Cyclone, I believe, was
Cyclone.
like, I don't really like this idea, guys. And they're like,
And
oh,
Weekend's
really?
like, we're done.
All right, cool, we're out. Let's just dip. Let's just play as a team.
If
and stay as a
anyone's
unit.
unsure of it, we're not going to do it. There's no point in risking it.
Better way to be. Now, I'm tuning in on Arkkyl again. I was going to talk about him a little bit more, and I want to, because when you
He's been great.
Look at the Sanguine lineup, though, and we've talked about these guys all year. You've got Cherryo, who everyone has seen as a monster just because of his performance at last Super Regionals. Maybe a little bit overrated in the grand scheme of things to some, but he has had a consistent performance, Cherryo. Then you've got Murrdurr in the support role, former finalist at the World Championships in Season 1. The next player on the list is Nika, and Nika's rise this year has been dominant. A lot of people saying he's come on leaps and bounds. A lot of respect for Nika, whereas Arkkyl, hidden under the radar the whole time. The whole time. He's just been consistent, he's existed, but now he's showing that he's not scared to fight and win 1v1s. Oh god, that ricochet was close.
And against Oceans too. I mean, of all people, because Oceans is really one of the only other hunters at Super Regionals who has been willing to just risk the 1v1s.
Yes.
Often enough. Oh, okay.
You just spoiled
we
it
just
now,
talked
Arkkyl.
him up, and then he misses someone backing and not moving.
Well, the funny thing is I usually see both these two players as the new improved version of, well, new version of Zatman, like the Zatman-esque of the first couple of seasons of the game. This is the new era coming through. This is the young youth of the game actually coming up and stepping into this role.
You know, regardless of how Sanguine finish, I am excited for this team into next year. Who knows if we're going to have another roster apocalypse? You can never really predict that. It's all kind of dependent on how everyone's feeling.
It will, because the players of Smite as a whole, they get salty when they lose. I'll guarantee it. There was one team, just so you know, there's one team that has made it past the World Championships that didn't win and stayed together for the next year, and that was Orbit.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 traded out
Everybody
Omega.
has. The moment you lose,
they won the first one.
The moment you lose, you trade out your team. If Energy don't win this year, I expect they'll split too.
It's, I mean, it's not, it's rough. You got to think about it. I mean, you play all year and you just come just short. I mean, sometimes changes are needed. Obviously, something didn't work out for them.
And sometimes it does work out for you, but you just don't realize it till it's too late. Some of these boys in Allegiance, they've been away from each other. They've been together before, and now they're back together again because they've realized this is their best opportunity.
And this is going to give them so much momentum coming into the World Championship, too, because, you know, not only did they make this team and only have one chance to play together competitively in the Gauntlet, where it was 2 relatively quick games, but to come here and 3-0 immediately on day 1 of the group stage and just look so good together, there's a couple sloppy mistakes, but that can all be cleaned up by Worlds.
I will say North America and Europe do not respect each other as regions as a whole. I've seen this over the course of this tournament in the last couple of years too, but it's really obvious right now how little they respect each other. Sanguine are the 8th team out of Europe. They beat Flashpoint, who are basically the 4th team in North America on paper on the online stages. Take that into the bank, right? But then you've also got the likes of Orbit and the likes of Energy that haven't respected some of the teams as well, that haven't performed. But hold that Gold Fury.
Started up here, PolarBearMike coming in. The Wrath is still online, and PolarBearMike trying to get away.
Round the back, though, comes Weekend, and he wants somebody, but who's the target? Could be Murrdurr here. Murrdurr's going to ult in place to buy himself a second, but Oceans leaps over the wall and makes sure the dragon goes nowhere. Meanwhile, Scylla's running from the big baby again as CycloneSpin does his job on the front line.
ALG need to get more off of this. They need to steal away this red buff, get this tower in mid. The blue and speed just spawn on the right-hand side. This is fine for Sanguine if all they lose is a single person and a red buff, but there's so much up right now for Allegiance to take to kind of close the gap from that Gold Fury.
They're giving up the tier 1 tower left-hand side, because look at where Sanguine's going. They're all rushing mid lane. They've not realized there was 3 members of Allegiance on the left-hand side, so that Gold Fury is for naught right now, because Allegiance are going to answer it back and get a tier 1.
This is a little bit awkward right now for Allegiance. They're really split up. I mean, PolarBearMike just went aggressive by himself.
No, he's not by himself. Weekend's around the back of him too, and Weekend's looking for Dodo with the support of PolarBearMike at the same time, as poor old Cherryo went to the left-hand side to hit Arkkyl. The root was good, but Mike could get it. No, the torque from Cherryo!
No, he trades out.
It 1 for 1. Cyclone now here, and now with Murrdurr as well. Cyclone's in a bit of an awkward position. Not going to get much support from his team in time to get away, I don't think.
Body blocked.
He's very low on health right now.
He can't get out.
It out. He's going towards his teammates, but Arkkyl will deny him the option.
Oh, Oceans, though, answering back onto Arkkyl, going to push him away. Weekend exits stage right, just trying to get to safety there. It's such a weird engagement coming out for Allegiance. I mean, there was buffs on the right-hand side that were incredibly easy for Allegiance to secure. They were in a power position after picking off one member at the Gold Fury too, but they just try and split up instead of playing as a team. I mean, Weekend and PolarBearMike going aggressive by themselves in mid when 3 of their team wasn't in a position to rotate to them. Really surprising and sloppy fight from Allegiance after they've played so well as a unit.
I can see some idea behind it, just because by pressuring mid, it means that the left-hand tier 2 could be exposed. Arkkyl was left alone. Cherryo had to rotate over to that as well to support. So Dodo was the one exposed instead. The problem is that they didn't commit very well onto Dodo because he didn't even use a relic there.
And you have to think, under that tier 2, it's only PolarBearMike and Weekend that are diving that. And 4 members of Sanguine are alive, and they have a good rotation.
Nika is a little bit caught out here. He really wants his tier 1 tower, but it could cost him his whole life. He's going to get the Athena ult as well, has ultimate himself to get himself away. So it wasn't all doom and gloom for him. Luckily enough, the silence from stealth and the root combo didn't really find a home.
That's fine as long as ALG don't try and abuse those ultimates being down, but I feel like they're not a team to do that.
Pale. That taunt did not go through just so you can see he's still available. The taunt animation will show you just even if it gets
that tells you how close that impale was.
For sure. And now it's a fight around the Fire Giant, it seems. Sanguine looking to bait it out again. They're just looking for taunts over and over again. The root combo coming out from Dodo is very good again. The crit, though, from Arkkyl did just hit.
That hit all 4.
Hit all of the team of Sanguine.
They need to disengage.
Now Sanguine have to run away until this dot wears off.
And there's the sprint, and it's going to be a successful disengage. 2 ults burned by ALG. Quickly answered back after we saw Nika and Cherryo have to use theirs to get him out of the right-hand side. That's a big win for Sanguine.
2 ultimates out of Allegiance there. One was a defensive one from Stealth, as well as the defensive one from Cyclone there. Worried about being out of position. Weekend trying to swing around the back, as he likes to do. This tier 2 town, the right-hand side, is already below 50%, even before Allegiance get
I like this Magi's Blessing pickup on him because there's not a lot of reliable CC burners if he's in the back line, so all he has to worry about is a taunt, and now that one taunt that normally has been burning his purification is going to be immune.
Taunt, Hammer, and Sikkim are the 3 that he's got to watch out for.
But I mean, for him, the Dodo and Murrdurr aren't really going to be able to jump onto the back line if Weekend is positioning himself properly.
Yep.
And so all that matters is if Cherryo then dashes into his team and he happens to be in the area.
For me, it's more 2 rotations of the Athena taunt, right?
Yes.
The first one's going to burn the Medjais. The second one, if you catch him again, is going to take a while anyway, and then the purification's burn.
And that's what Sanguine needs to do. They need to recognize this Magi's Blessing and try and find opportunities to poke it out without really forcing a fight, and then just wait for that taunt or Sikkim or Hammer to come back up and then rinse and repeat. Weekend has been relatively quiet. I mean, looking at the player damage, he is near
involved
the
in
higher
10 kills,
end.
Though. 10 kills involved, and if he's near the higher end of the player damage, he's had an impact.
It's just kind of his positioning's been awkward. I mean, it's just as an Kuang, he's playing it very similar to how he plays in Athena and in Erlang Shannon kind of warriors. Weekend likes to be in the front line of things, and Kuang's not really the god that you want to front line with.
No, he wants to be in the back line if you can get there, and that's why we've seen him swinging around the back multiple times here. Both teams hanging around the Fire Giant pit, though. The dance of the Fire Giant has begun. That really needs to be an emote in the game, though. You go near Fire Giant, you can just press dance, and it's just a dance of the Fire Giant where everyone just stands around and throws out a little bit of damage and tries to find some CC.
Weekend. Around that right side, you could see no words from Sanguine spotting him out, but Murrdurr's going to see him. And now it just becomes the dance, like you said. I mean, back and forth. It's going to be who feels like they have an opportunity to blow someone up. It's probably going to be Mike here looking for the initiation.
Block will find Murrdurr, and Murrdurr's in an awkward spot. Murrdurr's already down to half health and has to jump back out. Still has his ultimate available. But Nika went right to the back line there and forced PolarBearMike out as well. Both supports were crippled.
And PolarBearMike, he needs to be very careful. He's not the tankiest at this moment. You can see his builds. He's only got health coming out from Heartward Amulet.
Stealth going towards mid lane there, but Hanny's dash available just to get away. He knew Sanguine were trying to find him in that mid lane there, but round the corner waits Cyclone and Oceans in case somebody tries to ward the F.
I'm really surprised that PolarBearMike went for this Void Stone. He's not in a very tanky spot right now. It doesn't have a lot of health and virtually no physical protection outside of the boots. They all protect from the boots and the Spirit's Robe, and we're seeing it the last couple times. Even though he's successfully found Charge Prey Plucks onto targets, they've usually been frontliners, which, you know, aren't the best for Allegiance to turn around and burn them quickly, and he's almost always been on the fringe of death when he does so.
Well, here's an engage again, the crush hit PolarBearMike again, and he gets torn into danger. A monster will hit, but he won't get the kill. Arkkyl will get credit for it. Stealth, though, answers back onto Cherryo. 2 Guardians down. Cyclone in amongst the pigeons right now.
He's trying to get his ult off. He can't.
To kill him. One more hit could be enough. Arkyl's going to go in deep for it. Stealth's combo's already down.
Oceans.
And the pillar from Oceans, but Oceans is surrounded. He leaps in. He takes out Arkkyl, but it's a good trade for him overall.
2 for 2. Somehow Ocean stays alive. He blocks. He pillars Arkyl's jump. He can't close the gap and finish off Mike somehow, and then he stays alive with Sanctuary, ends up jumping, hits all 3 members, which means they couldn't kill him before he got his last in-hand. off on Arkkyl. What an insane play.
Well, no team has a power play based off that just because it's mages and guardians that are left. Obviously, they've got Vamana, but that's about it. So just tanks. Tanks and mages versus the world. Weaken and Stealth are trying to do the Gold Fury here. I don't think Sanguine recognize this whatsoever.
This is free.
They don't have War Courage on the Gold Fury. They don't have War Courage on FG. And if you're going to give one up, I'd rather them give up the Gold Fury right now and make sure the FG is safe.
This was Allegiance, I think, recognizing that there's unlikely to be a lot of wards on the left-hand side. The Fire Giant dance has been going on for upwards of 3 minutes, so any wards that were over there before have already faded away. And they also knew that the only 2 players left alive, or the last couple players left alive for Sanguine, weren't going to be able to burn Fire Giant regardless. So just intelligent shot calling to just get a free Gold Fury, finish off some of your builds there.
Well, the damage dealers are really online right now. You can see the builds coming through. Actually, interesting to see that Dodo, after getting the run of Tahuti very quickly this game, has invested in some magical defense. We've seen this before. Bulwark of Hope's come online to try and answer back the Kuang.
And it's the Nox as well. I mean, the Nox is doing a fair amount of burst damage, and so he's just trying to stay alive as much as possible, get off multiple rotations of cooldown.
Tornado 2, Oceans and Cyclone. Cyclone will get Ruin in place too. Forced to use the big baby. The ultimate came out from Stealth there, I believe. As well, no, he didn't. I tell a lie. He just got a bit of a combo off. So for now, not a bad situation for both teams.
And Weaken burns his blink, so he's not going to have that ability to just jump onto a backliner. And I think Allegiance are going to be playing back for a little bit. You could actually see Sanguine pushing up into the Fire Giant pit, and Weaken just trying to get a little bit of farm. He's got rank 2 of Tahuti. He really wants to finish that off before the next engagement.
Yeah, most people level 20 now, so experience matters less and less. Everybody's pretty much even in terms of experience. Gold, though, is still in favor of Allegiance, especially after that Gold Fury as well. It's just under 4,000, which 4,000 at this stage, split between 5 players, it isn't as much as you think.
It's 800 gold. I mean, it's 800 gold on each person. That's a tier 1. Maybe someone's been warding a little bit better than the other. It's not that big of a difference. And the thing is, the Hunter builds are both complete. A lot cheaper build coming out for Arkkyl, though. He only has 1 crit item, so he's not hitting as hard. If Oceans gets some lucky RNG with Wind Demon and Rage.
But the penetration is going to be very useful as well with the Titan's Bane pick up there. And I think that's going to really help against Cyclone and Polar Bear.
And that's what we've seen. We've seen Cyclone and Polar Bear both be these frontliners.
Cyclone going to be forced to ult again, just be taunt by Cherryo. But this looks like a bait. The boys of Allegiance want to take this fight now. The pluck onto Nika's putting him in a good spot. I'm a monster early from Dodo, but where's he going to hit the target to? Nobody.
Oh, that was way early. No one on Sanguine had any CC up. It was used at the beginning of the fight.
Did they still want to take this fight,
I think
though?
Sanguine was a little bit scared, or Dodo specifically was a little bit scared to fight there. No, they can't. I mean, I'm a monster's down. They don't have a lot of kill potential. All of their kill potential is on Dodo's I'm a Monster, and then Arkkyl shredding PolarBearMike and CycloneSpin, because we've seen Sanguine do a really good job of chaining their CC against those 2 players when they go aggressive, and they're immediately forced out of the fight without having any impact.
Allegiance just need
like
one
that.
win. One win for Allegiance will put them to the World Championships right now. CycloneSpin on the front side doesn't have his big baby and ate a crit there very nicely from Arkkyl, which immediately decided he's not going to stay around anymore. But they saw her back there, I believe, did Sanguine.
I think, is Wrath still up for Murrdurr?
It is still available.
It is.
And they know that one of the members backed, and it was PolarBearMike. That's why they're trying to burst this down. The Suns are raining down, but will the Suns be enough to stop Allegiance from getting the Fire Giant here? Weaken will take out Cherryo. The Fire Giant goes to Allegiance as well.
The
North
silence!
America once again are winning the game.
And Arkkyl, he's getting chased out by CycloneSpin. 1 hit on both, but CycloneSpin comes out on top. The meditation keeps him alive. Murrdurr on full retreat.
And
His Magi's popped, and he's
having
dead.
one of the best games of the year we've seen out of him. This Vamana has done work this game. 7, 2, and 10. CycloneSpin has stepped up when his team needed him to.
Just such a great job recognizing that Fire Giant was getting in range for the Wrath kill damage. He comes and he focuses all his efforts onto Murrdurr, knocking him up, body blocking him, trying to get in his way. That allows Stealth to rotate back in, drop the silence, and you cannot Wrath while you're silenced. And that is what allowed ALG to have the opportunity to steal
Was
FG.
it the right call? Was it the right call to go for that FG, though, from Sanguine? They did see PolarBearMike advice. They had a 4v5. Was it still the right call?
I think it was. I think they were so scared to do it, though. I mean, I'm sitting there, we're following Murrdurr. He's not even basic attacking the Fire Giant. All he's doing is paying attention to the health bar. He saw nothing else around him
And he just got juggled
but
up.
that health bar.
Well, with that, Allegiance get 2 Phoenixes. They're going to go the left and tier 2 tower. They could look for the left Phoenix, but everybody has respawned of Sanguine now as Murrdurr ticks up to life again. So they will fall back and spend all this gold in hand.
And now it's a 13,000 lead.
Do you reckon we'll see Cyclone go Deathbringer now?
CycloneSpin?
Just because he can?
No.
Why not?
Because he's been getting... CycloneSpin has been getting absolutely shredded in under a second when he walks to the front line. I mean, Cherryo will do more damage, but it's only going to get worse for him, I think.
Oh, that's where he's going to go. There you go. The camera on SNK just letting us know exactly what it was this time. It's going to be a super power potion.
Man.
Is that what it's called? I just call it a super duper mega potion.
It's elixir of power instead of power potion.
Elixir of BS, that's what it is. That's what I say it is anyway, for the most part. 18-11 Allegiance are
See, this
going to close
is the
game
real
out.
red pot. See, there's
I'm not
purple
going
pot,
into
there's
that
red
debate.
pot, and then there's 3K red pot.
I'm not going into that
There's no
debate.
3K purple pot.
Listen, I'm better than those casters. I don't need to go into that debate. I can find other things to talk about, I'm sure. Better than hot dogs, too, for the most part. Although a hot dog's not too bad now and again. Really, EU in a very tough spot now. Sanguine had to kind of win against Allegiance here to make sure that the hopes for Sanguine were alive as well. Sanguine lost 2 games yesterday.
I think this ends Orbit's run if
I believe so
if
too.
ALG come out on top
yeah,
here.
I believe so too. It could be at the end of Europe as a whole. The nation will divide because we're not a nation. And it will mean that it's going to be probably, if not definitely, 4 North American teams going to the World Championships and just 2 Europeans.
And the 3K pot picked up by Weaken as well. And that Kuang's damage, I mean, we've already seen him be such a huge factor into this game.
You could talk about the gold lead. When you've got 2 people with 3K potions in their inventory right now, and you look at the itemization of Sanguine right now, you can see there is gaps, and there is gaps on important people like TheDarkDodo.
He's really the only one. I mean, the build coming up for Arkkyl has been good for what he's facing up against, but ALG trying to qualify
Crush.
for Worlds.
Good work onto PolarBearMike, but the Suns from Arkkyl seemed a little bit too
Surprising.
premature, and that ultimate is going to be on cooldown as well.
And PolarBearMike has no issue with this. I mean, he's got a little bit of regen coming out from the Sovereignty, but he's got Fire Giant around him as well, so he has that percentage heal. And so he's just going to wait it out until he's a little bit healthier, but he still does need to be careful. He's been going aggressive, but he's been getting punished for it, barely escaping most of these fights.
But that's worked out well for them because then CycloneSpin has been able to initiate straight off that, and Oceans in the support as well has helped. So not to Weaken in the mid lane, but it's actually Cherryo who takes the brunt of that, and Weaken's just trying to keep Cherryo busy as the fight on left continues.
Cyclone's just paying attention to the Phoenix, and if other people are around him, he's going to hit them too. Oceans takes out the Phoenix in the last couple hits, and now it's 3 waves of fire minions that Sanguine's going to have to deal with. ALG just looking for 1 pick to force this.
This is trying to wait for minions to come down every lane here. There's no reason to risk it at this stage. They will go to the World Championships very, very soon. Let's have a little listen into Allegiance's comms because they know the position they're in now. They must be excited.
Everybody just stay here and get the red together.
Let's go
I have
words
ult in
around
30
left.
seconds.
Athena's coming in.
Light up. Take this red Oceans.
Athena dash. Yeah, I'll take it.
I'm backing.
The hell out of here.
I'm gonna drop your
I am
blue.
leaving.
My 3K pot is proc.
Okay,
pop, so
I
we wanna
won't,
fight.
I will
Get
not
our
have
red.
a ward, but I'm just gonna prioritize my mantle.
Phoenixes are coming as well.
Yeah, we're grabbing a ton of words for this.
Yeah.
Why don't burn fire and then go to Phoenixes right away?
Yeah, burn fire like right
Yeah.
away.
You need help on that red real fast or no?
No, we're fine, we're fine.
Come with me, Cyclone.
Getting that blue real fast.
Just pushing right.
Fire's flying, fire's
Fire,
flashing.
fire.
Fire's
Coming over now.
So we're doing fire right now. If they contest, sit and wait. Just wait. Just watch them.
They are here. They are
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Just watch them. You
Yeah.
have to defend. They're all here.
Don't
Athena's in right.
One down, one down.
Hey, combo down who you? Combo down
Start
who
it.
you?
That's
Just
his
I'm
start
first
it.
dinging,
round.
I'm dinging.
We just do it.
Yeah.
I can Nox out for secure.
I'm zoning
That's
with
his
Cyclone.
Magi's.
Nice.
Magi's. Fight. Fight. Go.
Where's Sam?
Hey, go, stay on it, stay on it, stay on it.
Yeah,
That's our
I'm
hog.
on it.
They're in. We wanna fight. We wanna fight. We
Sorry,
wanna
we're turning,
fight.
we're
Fight then. Fight then, fight then, fight then, fight, 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 fight,
So you
fight.
know, I'm on
Wait, wait.
jump.
Athena in the back, Athena in the back.
Hey, just down, hold your AMB, hold AGS, and that shit.
Fafnir split, Fafnir split.
So
We gotta wave, we gotta wave. Be
Go
patient,
alt.
be patient, be patient. Go back to it, go back to it. My shell's up in 20.
Sundown on me. They're going to Phoenix, they're on Phoenix right now. Yeah, fire.
Fire.
Dinner's still around, but we can kill.
Yeah, Fagnir's on it.
I have ult.
Fine. That's our taunt down.
Alright, release. We can go and fight. Look at Fafnir, like Fafnir. I'm ulting, I'm ulting.
Nice, we're good.
Let's chill.
Oh, you need to get out.
Heal, you
get
need
the
to
hell out.
heal.
I'm gonna lifesteal off speed. I'm
Do we-
lifestealing off
Yeah,
speed.
yeah, do it.
We should just stay on fire and we can just silence the fire giant again when Fafnir comes
Let me
up.
Ocean heal.
Athena's backing. She's ulting.
Alright, he's full. We're good. Do this shit. That's Fafnir all day.
Oh my god, they lost the Phoenix.
He's
What
dead.
the fuck
What are you guys doing?
Huh?
Well, the right-hand Phoenix is going to go down here in favor of Allegiance, and Allegiance are playing this very, very safely. They realize this is the World Championship shot right now. The defense from Sanguine, they've tried, but it still doesn't look like it's going to be enough right now. With the right-hand Phoenix falling, the Fire Giant now going down in the way of Allegiance 2. There is now an opportunity for MLC Stealth to attend the World Championships for the 3rd time in a row, joining Aninsta as well as Captain Twig as one of the only 3 people to make it so far. Meanwhile, the rest of these boys, none of them have played at the World Championships on PC before.
They're going to try right now, just playing so cleanly at the end of this game. I mean, you heard what CycloneSpin was saying. Just stare at them. They've got to defend, and they eventually even lose their Phoenix, not paying attention. They miss a fire wave on the right-hand side. I think the last fire wave they actually had to deal with, and because of that, this is going to be ALG primed to push forward. All they need is one more pick. They finished off the middle Phoenix as well. Fire wave on the left-hand side, and all that needs to happen is ALG just need to play this so safe. Once they have the fire waves pushed up, it's going to be really hard, if not impossible, for Sanguine to defend.
So far, the most dominant team in the group stage has been Allegiance. Cherryo pulled into danger, goes for the taunt, tries to get away, but in goes Nika at the same time. Meanwhile, the Titan is being hit by minions. Minions from the mid lane, minions from the left-hand side, minions from the right-hand side, and all Allegiance are doing is just allowing them to do the dirty work for them.
Pushing forward, Mike finds one, trying to stay alive, and Nika to the back line. He needs to find a kill. If Sanguine are to stop this, but Stealth with the big ult. Arkkyl might not even make it back to base, and he doesn't. Stealth finds the first kill in the final engagement. CycloneSpin finds a second one, and ALG are going to Worlds.
Made it. 3rd team to qualify. North America have come up big in the group stage already. Didn't even take 2 whole days for them. 4 games, 4 wins. That's how you get to the World Championships.
It was not easy for them either. I mean, they had to face the likes of Orbit. I mean, Sanguine have showed up. That was not the easiest of games for them. We saw Cherryo and the rest of the boys look good, but that's going to be it for the hopes of Europe, I think. Does that...
Well, it's close.
I mean, it's LG now. LG still needs to find one more win.
One spot is guaranteed that will go the way of Allegiance, who are currently 4-0. Obviously, LG has 3 games left to play today. They did win 2 yesterday, but they still need to find 2 more. 4 wins is the magic number right now. If nobody makes 4 wins, then we're looking at 3-2 records and head-to-heads to see if there is still a chance for another European team. But Sanguine's hopes and dreams have ended there. They have lost 3 games now. That's their day done.
You have to think about it like this, though. I mean, this team, known as Leftovers when it was started by Badger at the beginning of the year, he ends up leaving. They have 3 rookies. They're 8th seed in the fall split. I mean, there is no expectation for this team to do anything, and then they take 2nd in their group stage. They have some close games against Energy. I mean, they've played phenomenally, I think, in the group play as well. I mean, obviously, they weren't able to find the wins or close out some of the games. I think there was a couple that could have gone their way, and maybe it's a different story, but for them to honestly make the run this far, it's still great.
Fantastic performance from Sanguine, but it wasn't enough for the World Championships. Allegiance, a different story. Let's head over to the analysts, and they can break down this game.
Thank you, Hindu. Well, that's the story we'll be talking about today. Allegiance find their way into Worlds, and they've got to be excited. I know the crowd was very hyped during that entire game, and in many ways it went to hurt them, and in many ways it actually, I think, spurred them on. PolarBearMike was responding. So was Weekend as well. After anything that the EU crowd said, they had one right back at them and one even better, and it goes to show that they have the ultimate decider there in terms of the argument. They won the game. They're going to Worlds.
Allegiance is such a dynamic personality. Even though you might be yelling at them in front of their face, they're going to use that as fuel and fire and motivate them to keep on going on. We even saw just how confident it seemed during the first blood, how confident Sanguine was trying to go for that speed buff invade, getting caught out of position with CycloneSpin making that early rotation. He was a part of almost 100% of the kills, and now with that win, Allegiance and MLC Stealth do return to Worlds.
This is a pretty amazing storyline. I mean, we're close to seeing the entire C9 roster of gold at Worlds again, reunited, and I'm sure it's feeling good for MLC Stealth now. He's talked about how he felt left out. He felt that it wasn't fair, that his teams were finding success and that he wasn't. And now his team has finally found that success that he's wanted there at Worlds. They've given themselves the best chance to be the top dogs this year. But in terms of this game, you were shaking your head a little bit. You're scratching your head. How did this even happen with such a great lineup you thought that went in favor of Sanguine?
Right. I kind of found it was similar to how Noble played the group stage. Not saying that Sanguine are, equal in skill to Noble, but
sure.
In the sense that they didn't really play to their comp. They took a lot of early game fights and a lot of early game invades, and they try to force the issue and try to press their, as Anatoly would love to say, and they tried to push their sort of mid-pressure and use that to sort of look for invades and look for fights in their jungles. But it didn't really fit their win conditions, and also they didn't really have sideline pressure to go with it.
They were doing a good job, I would say, using Cherryo to look for those dash taunts, finding two people, forcing the purification out on her. But late game, when they went for that fire giant, it was just such a risky call. They lost the fire and they lost 3 members.
Right, and the issue is their comp scales well in the mid and late game. There's no reason to take those fights. Allegiance, as the game goes on, they get weaker and weaker and weaker until late when the Kuang can solo carry. But the problem is you don't want to take those early game fights. You want to chill till mid game, take those mid game fights, and really just abuse your comp and abuse all that setup for the Scylla.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the players that stood out for me was Oceans, continuing to perform well. He got caught in some interesting positions and made the best out of it. That's what I would say. He jumped in on a lot of fights and just got that last in hand that allowed him to secure kills, even when he was securing his own death. It was like, let me just make the most out of the situation, and the rookie showed up big.
Despite getting solo killed, actually, by Arkkyl earlier on, which was brilliantly, we saw Oceans making a lot of flashy plays. Whenever he knew he was going to go down, he would easily trade himself out 1-for-1. And there was a lot of even trades, actually, throughout this whole game as the game did progress between these two teams. So it's very interesting to see how Allegiance was able to control the game after that botched initiation on the Fire Giant by Sanguine.
The other player that stood out for me was CycloneSpin. On that Vamana, he was so effective in game. Cherryo, talk about that.
Right, we're talking about the new wheels, and the new wheels for ALG during this lane were definitely well-oiled and ready to go. Cyclone throughout the game had 100% kill percentage, a very, very high kill participation. And he did a very good job of using his advantage to rotate out of the lane and sort of help his team and spearhead his team into those fights.
Yeah, it seemed to work wonders, and of course, he's just so good. I wonder if people will let through the Vamana for him as well. It depends. Didn't matter what Brett was playing, though. MLC Stealth, he's standing by with Kevin, and he's excited because now he's going to Worlds.
Brett, Stealth, first thing, how's it feel? You qualified for Worlds for the 3rd year in the row. You joined so far only Anhur and Captain Twig to do the same.
It feels really, really good. I was afraid that maybe I wasn't going to make Worlds, and I'm glad I did, and it's a great feeling.
I mean, talk to me about this, right? Obviously, you and Weekend felt very confident in your kind of duo after the group stage. What went through your mind as you were making these roster changes? Obviously, it wasn't going to be easy, but the synergy seemed to pick up quickly.
Yeah, Mike, Ocean, Cyclone, they're all really good players. Honestly, I felt like I didn't do a whole lot that game. I was playing really support Nox. I didn't do the most damage on my team. What really makes a Nox good is when your team doesn't die and the fights last as long as they possibly can. The more cooldowns Nox gets off, the better she is. And this team really made it so that the fights went long and I could actually do stuff.
Okay, I know you said you didn't do anything, but you're the one who found the silence on the Fire Giant and allowed it to be stolen away. I mean, walk me through that play, because you guys were in a dominating position until that FG started up, and it kind of started to swing in Sanguine's favor, but you managed to secure it. How did that happen?
That was pretty ridiculous. They were on Fire Giant. It was like 30% health. I knew that if I silenced it, they can't hog it because they have a hog, we don't.
Yep.
And I'm just slowly moving there, hoping that the Fire Giant doesn't get killed before I get there. And I get there and it's still alive. And I have 2 on it. I'm like, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and then it dies, and it was a super duper. That was just lucky. I mean, that can happen. It might not have happened, but it did happen. It worked out for us.
If that Fire Giant went the other way, do you think the game would have went as easily as it did in the end?
It very easily could have been anyone's game. If they got the Fire Giant, they could have been screaming at us, and we're running away, dying instead.
Talk to me about this team, though, moving forward. Obviously, you guys only had this LAN, really, as your first competitive experience. The Gauntlet was only 2 games. What's the plan from now until hi-rez Expo, until Smite World Championship?
Yeah, I mean, we had like 2 to 3 weeks of practice with this new team because we got 3 new players on it. So we don't have like that great of synergy. We're still working on it. It's a work in progress. And now we have like a couple months until World Championship. We're just going to get that practice
About a
in,
month
try
and a
to-
half, not a couple months. It's getting pretty close.
We're going to try to equal the synergy that all the other teams have. We're going to really work hard during those month and a half of practices, and we're just going to try our best.
Well, congratulations. I mean, you guys looked fantastic. You looked great as well. Coming out with the knock, something we don't really see too much. Any shout-outs to your fans before we let you go and get back on stage? You got LG up next.
Yeah, I wish LG best of luck. Hopefully they make it to Worlds too, so me, Bear, Andy, just the whole squad can make it through. I want to thank my team. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do a whole lot. The best thing I can do is just hope my team doesn't die and the game goes as long as it can. And they did that really well. And I want to say hi to my wife also. She couldn't make it here. But I told her once we make it to Worlds, I'll buy her a ticket and we'll
You'll buy her a ticket.
So that's my motivation to do well here, because I don't want to get yelled at by her.
Well, that's pretty good motivation for Stealth there. Thank you guys. Thank you. Congratulations. We still have more Smite action to play. ALG is going to be going back on stage to face Luminosity up next.
I don't understand what they want from me. They take my hands, washing them in dirty water. Try to find what's right in a distant place. So far away, the silence fills my heart with empty space. But now I'm sure of where I'll go from here. And tensions rise, they push me to divert my vision. But I will break the ceiling and the walls that kept me in for all this time. And all the reasons that I cannot find. I will do my best to keep myself composed.